Hey, what's up guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist, and I just went undefeated with Kashtira at locals. I went up against ninjas twice, Kashtira in the mirror match, branded Eldridge, and even went up against a tier limit hybrid, which was super interesting. But I went completely undefeated in 5 rounds, which is absolutely crazy. So we're gonna get straight on into the deck profile. Before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description down below. And we're on the road to 100K subscribers, so every subscriber counts. So let's go ahead and check out this deck. So we're going to be playing pretty standard for the Kashtira, a little weird because I'm not a big fan of the tier limit Kashtira. So we're going to start off with 3 copies of Unicorn. Unicorn is the best card in the deck, and it's basically 1-card combo. You special summon out this card to your side of the field if you don't control another monster, and then you get to search out from your deck a copy of a spell Kashtira card, which is really good to just immediately get one of those cards from deck to hand, because it's going to help you get to your copy of Theosis and then go off, which is just really good. Also, this card lets you take a peek at your opponent's extra deck, which you guys will see during the live duels that I took with me actually getting first place. But this is super cool because it lets you basically just look at your opponent's extra deck and get rid of a card when it attacks, which is super good, or if your opponent declares a monster effect. We then play 3 copies of Fenrir, also very standard. This card is super good because it searches another Kashtira monster from deck. It can special summon itself to your side of the field if you don't control a monster, and it also banishes a card from the field that's face up, face down if a monster effect is activated or it declares an attack, or if it's involved in a battle, which is super cool. We then play 3 copies of Riseheart. Riseheart is one of the best cards. I like this card at 3 because it actually activates the effect of Shangri Era, which is just really good to help you lock zones. I'm usually searching this card off the effect of Fenrir, and this card just becomes a level 7 by banishing a Kashtira card from deck, which you're always going to be banishing your copy of Big Bang to be able to get that effect off, which is super important. And it's a really awesome 3-up. I don't feel like 2 is the correct number for this card. I feel like 3 is perfect, and it's super important for this deck because it does become level 7 and you can normal summon it, which is nice. We then play a single copy of Ogre. I'm on the Ogre package in here with Preparation. You never really use the trap effect of this card. You're basically just using the effect to search the trap from deck to hand. You're never using its bonus effect, at least I'm not. But it's really good in this particular deck because it's 2800 and it gets quite big on the field with the field spell, and it's just a really good name to have in the deck. We then play a single copy of the Scareclaw Kashtira. I feel like this one, in my opinion, is better than the tier limit one, and it's just really good because by just banishing a card, you can special summon this card to your side of the field. It's a Kashtira card from your hand or your graveyard. Also, can basically is a super heavy samurai where it can attack in defense position, which is really neat, and I really like that because it does help you in the grind game because you can't just make this in defense, and it's a really big defense. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is one of the best hand traps to this format, and it's just really good at stopping your opponent from touching the deck. I then play just a single copy of Nibiru because I am playing Crossout Designator. I feel like that actually won me the last match against Ninjas in the top cut, but this is really good to be able to play in the deck because if your opponent attempts to Nibiru you and they reveal it on the last summon and you have Crossout Designator and this card is still in the deck, you can basically just banish it and go in, and you pretty much have game at that point because you know you're safe. We then play 2 copies of Lava Golem in the main. I am siding the last one. I love this card in the deck. You don't really normal summon in this deck. All of your copies of your Kashtira monsters special summon themselves to your side of the field. So this card is great at breaking boards. And then it's really easy to out it because you just basically attack into it with a copy of Fenrir and then banish it, or you get rid of it with your copy of Riseheart, which is really good. We then play for the spells because that is it for the monsters. We're playing a single copy of Terraforming. You need to get to your field spell as quickly as possible. This is extremely important to play in the deck. This is actually my 41st card. This deck is a 41 card build, but this card is really good to get to field spell. We then play 3 copies of Kashtira Theosis. This card is extremely good and makes the entire deck go round because it lets you target a Kashtira monster that you control and special summon one Kashtira monster with a different attribute from your deck, essentially being E-Telly. So what you basically do for basic combo is you special summon out Unicorn, add this to hand, target the Unicorn with this, And then once you target the copy of Unicorn with this, you special summon Fenrir. Fenrir will search Rise Heart, make Shangri-Ira, and then go off from there, start zone locking your opponent. This card is extremely good, and it also has a banish effect that if this card is banished, then you can target one of your banished Kashtira cards, accept another copy of this card, and add it back to your hand, which comes up all the time, adding your copy of Big Bang or a monster. This card came in so handy and was one of the best cards in the deck. And in the mirror match, you can actually hit it with Crossout Designator, which is really neat. We then play 3 copies of Kashtira Birth. This is really one of the best cards in the entire deck. Every single turn, it's a monster reborn from banished or from grave, which is so good. And then it also has the ability that you can normal summon a level 7 monster without tributing, which is insanely good just to instantly get one of your Kashtira monsters on your side of the field, because sometimes you'll get 3 names in hand, special summon 1 to your side of the field, or at least 2. You'll get special summon 1 to your side of the field, activate effect, and once you activate effect, you'll be able to basically get to this card with your copy of Unicorn, and then you can normal summon out like a Fenrir or Ogre that you have in your hand. We then play 3 copies of the Planet Field Spell. This card is so good. It has the ability that when this card is activated, you add any Kashtira monster that you want from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be Unicorn if you don't have it. This card is 1-card combo, Terraforming is 1-card combo, and Unicorn is 1-card combo. But this card is really good in the deck because if you activate the effect of Shangri-Ira, you actually get to target a card on the field and destroy it. This card won me games like single-handedly because it's basically like the Tier Limit Field Spell, but in my opinion better, because it also gives your monsters a little bit of attack boost because it has the ability that your monsters gain attack times 100 attack and defense for each different attribute on the field, which is really insane because we play a bunch of different attributes between fire, earth, water, all those different attributes. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. I think Prosperity is better than Sacred Sword of 7 stars because this card just helps out a lot more because it helps you dig into the deck, and I don't need every single card in my extract. There was some games that I did go down to just 2 cards in my extract, but at that point I had the game sealed, so this card just helps you dig into the deck to get Field Spell or get Unicorn to start your place, or even bait out a Nash. We then play 3 copies of Crossout Designator to bring up Ash, but this card actually helps out a lot to deal with Nibiru, and it's really good in this deck because in the mirror you can hit Theosis. If you think you're going to get hit with a copy of Book of Eclipse, you can hit Book of Eclipse. You can put in D-Barrier, it's now to D-Barrier. This card is just insane, this format, and I feel like every single Kashtira deck just about needs to be playing this card because this card is so good at just countering cards that are going to hit us, and it's really, really insane. We then play 3 copies of Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is insanely good in the mirror match. It's good against a bunch of different decks right now besides Kashtira because you can flip all your opponent's monsters face down, and then we can just deal with their field extremely easily because all of our monsters are huge in this deck, which is really good. And this card basically lets your opponent draw if you leave monsters on the field and they're flipped back up, but that's never really gonna happen because you're gonna out their board. They can Ash it, which is a little bit of a shame because they're going to draw off the effect hypothetically, but it's never gonna happen. But they can Ash it, which is a little bit of a shame. It didn't happen to me, but it can. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So with the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Big Bang. You only need 1 Big Bang. If you draw into it, there's still ways to get it out of your hand. This card is kind of like evenly matched, which is really nice, and it basically just breaks boards. It didn't come up for me to use that effect, but the big effect is to send it off your copy of Rise Heart because it has the ability that it'll let you target one of your Kashtira XZ monsters that you control and add 1 monster of your banished Kashtira monsters back to your, or one of your attached Kashtira monsters to your hand, and then special it, which is really good to be able to just immediately get a copy of, say, Fenrir off one of your copies, like your copies of your Shangri-Ira. Like, say this is on the field, you banish this off your copy of your Rise Heart, and Fenrir is under this. You can actually grab the Fenrir back and then special summon it, which is really good to just instantly get one of your monsters on the field. Essentially, kind of turning this card into a 1-card XZ play, which is really insane. I really like this card as a 1-of. We then play a single copy of Preparation. This card actually never came up. It's neat in the deck. I don't feel like I want to cut it because you kind of need it for Ogre to search to deck thin, but it's really good in the deck as kind of sorta a 1-of, and it's a really good card in this build. We then play 3 copies of Imperm. This card is so good to counter other unicorns and a bunch of different plays like ninjas, and it's insane in this particular deck. You could cut it down to 2 in this particular build, but you don't want to get hit by it in the mirror match, so I'd like the Crossout Designator for this card, but it's never a bad card to see because you can lock down spell and trap card columns, and it can stop basically monster effects, which is really nice. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing double Shangri-La. This card is the lockdown card. This card is so important in the deck to be able to just lock down your opponent's columns and lock down their zones so they can't play. Every standby phase, I get to special summon a Kashtira from deck. This is literally one of the best cards in the entire deck and is so important to be able to win. We then play 2 copies of Arise Heart. Arise Heart is so good. I almost played this card at 3 and was just doing Arise Heart Pass, but it didn't really work out for me the first time that I played at locals. I took second with it, but when I started zone locking against the opponent, it really started to win. And this card is basically Macrocosmos. It's like Trident and Macrocosmos mixed together, and it's super cool. It's one of my favorite artworks in the game right now, and it's so good because you can detach 3 materials from it, and when you do, you can basically target a card on the field and banish it, which is super good, and then it attaches a material from it once per chain if a card becomes banished, and it is mandatory to actually attach the card to it. We then play a single copy of Diabolosis, or number 86. This card is really good, basically to rip your opponent's extra deck. I actually milled out a couple of people with this card, which is super good, and it also helps you get 3 zones locked at minimum with your copy of Shangri-La, which is super good during your turn, and then locking down the other 2 against the opponent next turn. We then play a single copy of Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation. Shout outs to Dark Armed. That card is so good. This card is so good in the deck. It helped me win so many games. Just being able to out cards. It's not once per turn, which is really good. It's just once by detaching a material. Being able to banish cards like Theosis from your graveyard is really good, and it also outs a bunch of different cards. And then play a sealed copy of Dracosac. Dracosac's a good 1-up to be able to generate tokens and pop cards on the field. I just play 1 big eye. I don't feel like I need 2. You can play 2. I like 1 in this build because it lets me take cards. I actually took a Golden Lord to win against the Eldritch player. Shout outs to Noah. This was really funny. I loved it because I actually took like his ace card and I had Dark Armed on the field, which is my ace card, which is just funny. I play a sealed copy of number 28. I did not make this in the entire tournament, but I didn't actually need it, because this card was kind of like my cowboy for game, because you can attack directly if it's the only card that you have, basically. And then it does 500 points of burn damage for every monster or every card in your opponent's hand, so it can help you out a little bit. We then play Double Zeus. Double Zeus is really good in the deck. Other Kashtira player kept hitting this card, and I couldn't board wipe them. It's really good to board wipe. We're pretty much playing XZs in the entire extra deck, so it's really good. Play a single copy of Donner. Donner's really good because it's basically like Breaksword, but a link monster, to be able to pop a card on the field and pop itself. Plus, you can out your own Nibiru token if you do Nibiru. You play a single copy of Goliath. Goliath is really good to be able to attach after you Prosperity to your copy of Arise Heart, because it makes it so it cannot be destroyed by card effects. And 2 copies of Lingribo. Lingribo at 2 is something that I really kind of liked. I could see cutting it down to 1 because I never made it, but it's really good just in case you get Iblied, you can out the Iblied. So that's it for the extra deck, guys. Let's get into the side deck. So for the side deck, I'm going to be siding the other Lava Golem. I did play 3. I would side this in every time when I was going second because I just wanted to break boards. This actually won me the entire tournament because I was playing against a ninja player. They summoned 2 Tabaris, and I went out of the 2 Tabaris off of a duplication, which was funny because then I just basically went like this and was like, here, banish it with a Rise Heart. We then play a single copy of Nibiru in the side. I feel like 1 Nibiru is really good because the 1 Nibiru is just really nice at just basically, in case you need it, you're kind of sort of playing 2 because you have 1 in the main. I play 1 Feather Duster to out back row. 3 copies of Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm was MVP. I used this against the Eldritch player. I used this against the Ninja players. This card was so good. We play 3 copies of Lance. Lance is something I never sided in. I think I'll keep it in the extra because it helps you with Eclipse, but I feel like almost you need either this or Crossout Designator, and I just like the Crossout Designator because it hits more stuff. We then have 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier is something that I really liked in the deck. I might cut it for 2 copies of Evenly because Evenly kept hitting me, and I feel like it would have been better if I could have sided in an Evenly into the deck because it would have helped me out in the long run because I could have beat the Cash player if I was playing, because I had Crossout and I didn't have the Evenly in the deck to be able to stop it, which would have been really nice, and I might have gotten that game. But this card is just really good in this particular deck to be able to just basically stop an entire extra deck, which is really nice. Against ninjas, you call fusions. Against Kashtira, you call XZs. Against anything else, you just basically call whatever they're playing in the extra deck, and it's just really, really good. We then also play the 3 MRD, Metal Raider, Solemn Judgments to just say no to everything. If you go first, you side these in, and it just basically stops your opponent's key play. I really like this card as a 3-of. I sided in every single time that I was going to go first. If I lost game 1, I would go in this, and I would just basically put this into the deck, and I would stop my opponent and kind of win the game, because usually if you stop their key play, you can just basically win. This card was super, super good. The half doesn't matter, because after that, you're going to win the game, which is super, super important. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck was super fun to be able to play. I loved it. It was insane how powerful Kashtira was in this tournament. There was a couple of moments that I felt like I might have lost, but I just ended up pulling out because I would top deck like a unicorn, or I would summon out like a Fenrir, like I would top deck Fenrir. It was just ridiculous. Like this deck, you can literally top deck one card and then go full combo again. Like there was at one point, I drew a unicorn and it was the only card I had. It was the only card in my hand. I specialed this, got Theosis, got the Fenrir, and then went full combo, made a Rise Heart, and then just won the game. Like it was just, that was it. I had it. So that's it for this one, guys. I'm really, really happy because this is like one of the first wins that I've gotten, like first places at this particular locals, because usually I'm playing weird stuff and this is actually like really fun to play. I'm probably going to be playing this a lot on the channel. I really like it. It's super fun. I'm going to have some live duels up on the channel of this deck, and it's just super fun to be able to play. I love Kashtira. Locking all those zones is just really fun. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure that you guys subscribe because we're on the road to 100K. I want to get that plaque. So we'll see you guys in the next videos. See you later, guys.